Good afternoon, Trina Williams. I just want to pick up on what you just said. Win is tight with APNU. However, this week especially, we've been seeing even the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, telling people a vote for Win is a vote for the PPP. Can you comment on this?
So it's interesting now, suddenly, APNU is saying that a vote for Win is a vote for the PPP. We have been at this for, what, 4 months, 5 months now? And not a word of criticism from APNU of Win. So I'm wondering what's changing now, or what has changed. Did there fall out? Was not enough money not delivered? Or it's just another ploy? Because most people in the People's Progressive Party's base understand that Win will collaborate with APNU. And that is why they have not criticized them. You know this instinctively. People in Guyana are not stupid. So they know the party that has been pointing out the criminality of the Mohammeds has been the People's Progressive Party. And they have, the Win party has only been criticizing and lying about the PPP. You know, we sanctioned them, we're vindictive against them. They never said anything bad about the 5 years of APNU. Or, you know, the practical destruction of the country or their attempt to steal elections. So they never criticized APNU or AFC. And APNU for 4 months did not say a word about them. And now Norton was saying up to 3 weeks ago, he'll reserve his criticism. Well, we're 4 days away from the elections. So clearly the numbers, their original calculation that a collaboration with Win could see the PPP be a minority government, I think maybe they've had other advice now that the PPP is going to win the majority and significantly so. And they're now fighting back for their own position in terms of how much seats they share with Win, how many seats they share with Win. So that original calculation, I think that Win could dent the PPP enough to cause a minority government. I think they've had a late reassessment of that. And that is why now you see them frantically going around the place. Henry Jeffrey even saying, vote race. You know, they're panicked all the time. Henry Jeffrey even was on the platform saying, vote race, the elections. So that's how I see it. But any sensible Guyanese would know that if they felt that way, why didn't they say it for the past 4 months? Why didn't they speak about, suddenly they think Mohammed is corrupt? Why didn't they say it for 4 months? Why did the Mohammeds not say anything about APNU and their track record? A lot of the camp, they were deep collaboration. Look at how many ministers and members of parliament. You remember Mohammed said he will be taking people from the PPP and from APNU? Well, who did he take from the PPP? No, couldn't be Brian Max or Doggy or Fatah. But he took, what's her name? Two ministers of the last government. I forgot their names. Tabitha and no, Natasha's a member of parliament. The other one, Don Hastings, and then a member of parliament too. So it's a tight cola. They were sharing personnel. And I'm sure Primus used to get instructions from Congress Place too. Because when I see the criticism of Jagdeo, it's the same thing that APNU used to say about me all their lives. I see the Mohammed saying the same thing. So they were sharing, they had a common playbook. They were setting up each other's camps in Essequibo Coast. Queenstown, we caught them and they ran in a building when we saw the Win people setting up the tent for APNU's meeting. We knew of this before. So they were sharing when they probably thought that they could bring the PPP down in a minority government. But now, clearly, they've reworked their numbers. They've seen it, and they're not stupid people too. Although sometimes they act that way. Yeah.
Dr. Jagdeo, Mikhail Rodriguez for Daybreak News.
Now I have to deal with the Mohammeds, yes.
Moments ago, GCOM PNCR appointed commissioners staged a walkout while discussions about Monday's elections were happening. What contingency plan does your party have in place to ensure that the PNC, who seems to have seen the writing on the wall, does not derail Monday's elections?
Well, this is typical of those appointed by the PNC. And so it's not surprising that they walked out. But GCOM has to do its work, and there's a provision when there's a walkout, that if the next meeting, if they're given appropriate notice and they don't show up, then the proceedings, the business of GCOM can continue. So I hope that GCOM continues the work to be prepared to host the polls. APNU is in great confusion. On the morning of the discipline services vote, they had sent in a spreadsheet with people to be accredited to accompany the boxes. And half of the people didn't show up. And they had to replace them at the last minute. We could have objected with a last minute replacement because I gather some of them even showed up without accreditation to be polling agents for the party. But we said it doesn't matter. Once they're there, let them be there so they can see that the poll is conducted fairly. But they're in a mass of confusion, so I wouldn't put it past them to do a walk around. Yeah.
Dr. Jagdeo, Cordell George from Livewire News. Just 4 hours ago, the APNU posted a video with the caption, "A vote for the smaller parties is a vote for the PPP to continue corruption." How would you respond to this, given that no members of your party are a part of any of the smaller parties contesting in these upcoming elections?
So a vote for Nigel Hughes is a vote for the PPP now. They're getting really from, I think it's becoming more absurd by the day. So really, as I said before, it's beyond insanity what they're saying. And I think they're just losing it. So Nigel Hughes is saying, split the vote. But I think he was speaking to PP supporters. Terence Campbell said to PP supporters, you stay home so we could win the elections. Now, APNU is putting out a statement. 4 months they were silent on Mohammed. Now they realize he's the most corrupt person in Guyana, 3 days before the elections. They're all working together and it's falling apart. because obviously the new figures emerged. The new figures emerged which showed that their initial hope, which was working together would have brought the PPP below 50% in Parliament, is not going to succeed any longer. That the PPP is going to cross that threshold by a significant number. And now the madness has started. They started cannibalizing on each other now. And so that's a reflection of madness that's taking place in the opposition camp. It's in total disarray. They're in disarray in these camps. Dysfunctional often. They're very dysfunctional, including in the Win party. You have 20 people making statements. We don't know what's policy. All over the place. Then Hannah cussing out with 20 other people. Mohammed saying some things that you'd question his sanity too. Oh, people, I was the president since 2020. People called me president, so I had to run. Look at the interview with Starbuck News. Starbuck News gave him a free pass again. You know, Starbuck, he was the president. They sent him some questions, and he said, you know, people, where I went wrong, people would ask him, when did you think about running? And he said, you know, people used to call me president since I'm going wrong. You know, people call you all sorts of numbers, things when they want your money. They'd call you God even, if they want a raise from you. What? And that sort of thing we have contemplated that having to deal with a Maduro or represent us at the UN. I can't even think of that possibility. So, there you have it.
Dr. Jagdeo and Michael Rodriguez for Daybreak News again. Why has your party continued to downplay what is a national security concern, the Maduro-Mohammed connection, given even persons in U.S. Congress have made their concerns public? Why is your administration downplaying this? Is this some kind of political maneuvering?
So I saw Brian Max posting that he was going to come to Freedom House to my press conference today. So I think you chased him off, right? I didn't see him show up here today, but obviously we have a no snoring policy here in Freedom House. So the thing is that we so let's get back to this. We have not downplayed. In fact, we are the only political party that has pointed out that this link is a serious one. And we're saying to the media, how come you're concerned about everything Venezuela? How come you're concerned about Venezuelan threats to our sovereignty? And you write about this extensively in every single area, but you exclude this one issue. Why don't you follow it to the logical conclusion? You recall me being questioned here whether we told the congressmen what to say when they pointed out that the Mohammeds are Maduro's puppet and linked to the Maduro. I said here, we did not tell the congressmen what to say. In fact, it would be really presumptuous for us to think we could tell a U.S. congressman what he must write or what statement he must issue or tweet. So I pointed out at that time that they may be privy to information that we ourselves don't have, because they have an entire national intelligence apparatus in the United States of America that often would send reports to the State Department, and congressmen are briefed on those reports. So clearly, there had to be some smoke there. There had to be some smoke there, because they would not issue statements that are so categorical if they didn't hear something that we didn't hear. I then subsequently, in fact, Minister Todd then subsequently pointed out that the Mohammeds were in the embassy, the Venezuelan embassy. And this raised a lot of red flags, given the context that the congressman had defined. So Minister Todd has to look out for our safety on our border through diplomacy. He summoned the ambassador, and the ambassador said, yes, who was there? The Mohammeds then issued a statement. Azruddin Mohammed did not go to the embassy. And I pointed out, you think if Nazar Mohammed went to the embassy, who is the father, that Azruddin and Hannah would not know about it? So I said, the same way you issue a denial about Azruddin Mohammed, why don't you deny that Nazar Mohammed went? And until today's silence, 2 weeks have passed. They refused to answer that question, because the moment they answer the question truthfully, then the next question would be, what was he doing there? You couldn't go to Venezuela on vacation. Nobody wants to go there on vacation. So what were you doing there? And that would be the next question. And they're mortified. They're fearful about answering that question. So, but the media left it. It's just there. I said, end my career now by just denying that you went there. He has not denied, he refused to answer it. Hannah Mohammed and Azruddin will talk about everything under the sun and abuse everyone, but would not answer that simple question. Was Nazar Mohammed in the Venezuelan embassy? Did he visit the Venezuelan embassy? One simple answer, yes, no. Why? The question is why. And so you're saying we're downplaying it. You in the media have been downplaying it. Members of the media, we have done what we can. APNU didn't say a word about it. On another issue that threatens sovereignty, you remember they said we're not doing enough. They walked out of Parliament when we had a bill before, a motion before Parliament condemning Venezuela. Are we not doing enough? And here you have US congressmen saying their Mohammeds are tied to Maduro, and they're not saying a word about it. And we've seen the help when that Facebook page, Essecubo is Ours, was established. We believe that the Venezuelans and Venezuelan trolls were helping the Mohammeds run it. They were running that page. Essecubo is Ours. So it plays on it. It looks like, Guyanese, but really, it's a double play on the word. And that, if you go and I don't know if the page is still up now, we may have taken it down, but in that regard, what's this? Yes, I saw this. They asked that already about the commissioners walking out. So go and see if the page is still there and see all the comments. And including occasionally you see someone or a couple of people like break into Spanish on the page and stuff like that. So don't blame the PPP for this.
The relationship between Nazar Mohammed and the Mohammeds and Maduro is so much so that the foreign minister decided to call in the ambassador to ask him, what is it that the PPP has seen or evidence that the PPP has that would cause such concern? And why is that evidence not made public? You have even placed your political career on the line.
But the thing is that the ambassadors confirmed that he attended. You're asking for evidence. That's what he's saying. Show me evidence that I attended. I hope if the evidence emerges, then what story are we going to hear about that after that? But he's refused to answer. It's a simple yes, no answer. Did you go or not to the embassy? And because the next question would be, if the answer is yes, what were you doing there? Were you looking for a vacation in Caracas? Or did you go there to get instructions or to receive information? And so that is what the media will not pursue. That is what the media in Guyana will not pursue. They could easily go when they walk around the place and have these meetings, go and ask them about it. Just like you do normally, media people do. They just say, you know, until now we have not seen a clarification from the Mohammed camp. You can talk about everything under the sun, but did Nazar Mohammed go to the embassy? And they would say, and if so, why? Oh, simple question from the media. They would not answer. So I believe we have done our part in already bringing to the matter to the fore. And this is it. Yes, go on.
In your lengthy political career, have you ever seen a political party contest elections and don't even have a prime ministerial candidate, a placement of a prime ministerial candidate? Have you ever experienced that before? Is it something normal, or as is being touted in the public, Maduro is intended on choosing the prime ministerial candidate for Mohammed?
Yeah. Well, I don't know who touted that Maduro is choosing their prime ministerial candidate. But it is the arrogance and the impunity with which they operate, even worse than the PNC. So the tradition in Guyana, you don't need to name vice presidential candidate, but the tradition in Guyana has been that you will name a prime ministerial candidate so that people know that should anything go wrong with the president, who will assume, according to our constitution, the office of president. Now, this camp, we are 3 days away, 4 days away from elections. They have not done so as yet, and again the media has allowed this to be a sitting issue. Every day Starbuck News says this man promises some aluminium factory now he wants to build in somewhere. But they can't deal with that one question and stick with it. Every day positive things, media, etc. But not a single ask him, when are you going to do this? And the answer is, I believe, you would see they'll probably rush to do it over the next couple of days once we start talking about it. But I have no confidence that even if he names someone now, that he might be doing it out of convenience. I believe this is a family enterprise, that using people, that he wants to put his entire family, if he wins the elections, but of course he's not going to win the elections, but he wants to put his family in charge of everything. everything. That's it. It is an enterprise. It's running on arrogance, impunity, criminality. That's the word surrounding this group. Nothing about service to people or country or anything else. He's always the victim of PPP, etc. And not talking about the stealing that he has done. They talk about abuse of state resources. This man is, he is using $11 billion of stolen money from the state to fund his campaign. And people don't talk about that. And I see, by the way, I see now Capital News, they still exist. This Capital News is still around. They surfaced maybe around election time. I didn't see them for a long time, but they put out something, oh, President Ali is abusing state resources because he traveled in the helicopter. And I just want them to refer to Ramjatan, what Ramjatan said here. We don't take government money to buy our flags or our caps or our t-shirts like APNU did. We didn't take government money to put up any billboard. It's people's money that the party raised with to do this stuff. But the president is the president, so they complain about it. And this is what Ramjatan said. Use of state resources for APNU FCA campaign, an advantage of incumbency. This is what Ramjatan said, and direct quote, "It is ridiculous to make the argument that a president of a country cannot use state resources to get him to one end of the country. It's also ludicrous to make that point that it is an abuse of state resources. He is president of Guyana until another president is sworn in, and if he wants to use the helicopter, there's nothing wrong about that," Ramjatan said. Now suddenly it becomes abuse of state resources. Capital News and all of the others running with it. They didn't see when APNU was paying for, through the LCDS money, they used the LCDS money that we had left, that we earned. They didn't earn a cent in the 5 years. We left a lot of money from the Norwegian agreement. They were using it to so-called put up the green billboards, but all the billboards were for campaign purposes. Buying the green t-shirts for the LCDS and then sending it to Congress Place from the office of the president and other places. Using, and I'm saying it's green because LCDS money, and buying thousands of t-shirts in 2020 and sending it there. You remember just before the $50 million that they spent on buying tickets to a concert or something like that and sharing it out for free? That's the kind of abuse you had then. But suddenly you get these flotsams floating around with article. They're worried about, oh, we're making calls to people, asking them about for their votes. Because we respect the voters. That's why we're asking them. And we're talking to them and we say, look at what we've done. Please judge us on that. Would you support us? What's wrong in doing that? And if people say no, then we accept it. And if they say yes, then we move on to. Suddenly, they're clutching at straws.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo. Vashani from the newsroom. I'd like to ask, you spoke about the promises delivered over the past 5 years and your plans for the years ahead once re-elected. Could you perhaps tell us about what you consider your failures and shortcomings over the past 5 years, and how would you work to address those?
So the key areas that we have, there are lots of people, particularly in the housing sector. So we had a great success, but we also have not been able to move faster because we reserve all of the opportunities for local people. And in some areas, our local people don't have the capacity to particularly build houses. We are hoping to get more core homes built, like maybe 10,000 core homes built. And the young professional homes, maybe about 3,000 of those. We didn't achieve it. Although we didn't promise it, we only promised 50,000 house lots, but we are hoping that we could have gotten those built. We awarded to local people, hoping that they would be able to start small bit, well, they'll get involved in contracting, make some money, and they would deliver at the pace at which we anticipated. They failed. And so that's something I spoke of earlier. That is one thing we have to reassess. If we're now going to do 40,000 homes, we have to do it very, very differently. We have to assess our capacity across the country. So some of our local people are stretched to the max. And then some of the smaller people that we're trying to incubate, you can't give them big projects because you can't give them to build 100 homes if they've never built anything. You have to start them off like with maybe a small contract and then grow that capacity. So that is one issue that we have to look at carefully. Two, we have to make sure that some of the government agencies are more responsive and accountable to people. We are hoping that with the use of technology now, that we'd be able to do so. We've gone to many, many cases where people make complaints, but they never got the complaints addressed because they got killed off at the department level by it's sitting on someone's desk or at the NDC. Even some NDCs, when people complain about problems there, we put in some information officers, and many of those information officers who should have reported directly to the minister got captured by the NDCs and they stopped reporting on the problems. So we have to have a better system to address the public's complaint directly, because as we said before, we're going to strengthen the local government bodies, put more resources there, but they have to do the things that they are supposed to do. Pick up the garbage. They have to keep the drains clean. They have to cut the bush in the cemeteries and stuff like that. They don't do these things. And sometimes they sit on the money. The 30 million for this year, we moved from 5 million to 30 million in subvention. Many of the NDCs haven't even started their spending for the year as yet. We're already in August, and they haven't even touched a cent of the 30 million that they got in subvention, which was supposed to be for clearing the drains and helping them to pick up the garbage and all of those things. So greater efficiency at every level of the government. One area that we didn't promise but we have to work on is financial inclusion. We found that in many, many communities, rural communities, particularly in Amerindian areas, they don't have access to banks and banking services. And so they can't get money paid to them like you go to many of the communities across Guyana. They can't open a bank account. That is why fintech and use of the technology now would allow people to do digital banking using their phones, etc., in remote areas. That's something that personally I would like to see improve. We've had a great growth in internet, but again in the hinterland communities is telecommunication. We liberalized telecommunication, got more fiber optic cables in, the cost of bandwidth came up. But when I go to Latam, I have a GT&T phone, I can't use it. I can't use my GT&T phone. I went there to Latam the other day. All I'm getting sometimes is E, it goes to E, I can't get LTE, and then sometimes I can't even get any connectivity. That's a tongue in Guyana. They have a license for the whole of the country. If you have a national license, you should be providing services. And that's why I've spoken about this. The Public Utilities Commission should have a hearing. People, when they pay, they should get a particular quality of service. This sort of thing. GPL is another issue. Electricity, we've had a tough time to keep pace with the growing demand for electricity and making the transfer. APNU did absolutely nothing. You check. Nothing on the grids, and didn't buy any power plant, didn't put in no capacity that you could speak of. So we came back into office with the old system that was there we left in 2015. Nothing, but the demand is changing now. People, more hotels, more homes, etc. are being built, more businesses. And then they had killed the project we had hoped to come on stream. That was 2017, the hydropower. And then they also didn't use the 85 million US dollars that we left in the account at the IDB to do the solar project. It was left there for the hydro, but they could have used it for solar. They didn't use it. We're using it now. We struggle. We've been struggling. We put in nearly 200 megawatts of capacity through the power ships and buying new plants. We're upgrading the grid. We struggle. Hopefully, we'd be able to solve that definitively in the next term. These are some of the things just some of them that we would have hoped to improve.
I'd just like to quickly follow up on something you mentioned, the calls from the party. Could you perhaps say how the numbers on the list, how did the party get those numbers?
Yeah, we acquired those numbers from various sources. That's all I'm going to say. We acquired the number from various sources.
There have been concerns about data privacy. Would you be able to say if a person's data given to the government would have been protected at all times or not?
Data is always protected. We have a new law, and what we pass, and the data is protected. Yes. And I find it abhorrent that members of the media would harass some of the people, like Mosley did with that young lady. We gave her the number to call. She didn't. They're just harassing the poor young girl for making calls. Yeah.
Jara NCN News. Your party leadership recently met with OAS a few days ago on the elections. Were any concerns raised by the party? How did that meeting go?
I met with I've not had a meeting with the OAS yet. I know the president met with them. The meeting, from what I heard, went extremely well. I met with the Commonwealth Group, and that meeting went also very, very, very good. I think the observers are ready to observe the elections. They're in good spirit from all that I've had. The personal interaction and from the reports I've seen, there have not been any major issue that they have discovered that could affect the outcome of the elections. They are satisfied with a few things. One, that there is no padding of the voters list. That's the key finding. And two, that the campaign, in spite of some of the outlier incidents, has been going peacefully and well so far. And people have been able to freely disseminate their views, their party's views and their personal views.
Party raise any concerns with the observers?
No, the thing is, those are being worked through at the GCOM level, not any major issue.
In the matter of GCOM, how satisfied is the party with GCOM's preparations for E-Day?
Well, GCOM said it's ready. From all they have done so far, we've seen from the preparation of the ballots to discipline services voting, they have done so efficiently and transparently. And we have, at this point in time, no reason to believe that they would not be ready for Monday. So they've assured us, like they have done with every other political party, that they are prepared to conduct these elections, and we have to believe them. Thank you very much. Oh, you want it? Oh, go on. Yes.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jagdeo, Committee Slow Sabric News. This is a question as it relates to offshore workers. I think I brought this up with GCOM, but we didn't get a solid answer. As it relates to those workers and being offshore, do you think, or can you comment to say if systems should be put in place for those persons to get to vote?
You see, this is a matter entirely for GCOM. They will make that decision there. That is best. The question should be asked of GCOM. We want every Guyanese to vote. We want every Guyanese to vote, but special arrangements for particular groups to vote is not a party task. It is a task for GCOM. And I know some time back when this matter came up, there was a view that if they open the door for one group, then other groups may also require special arrangements to vote. So, but that question would be best answered by GCOM and not the political parties. We want everyone to vote. And I want to urge people to give their employees the time enough to vote or to go back home and vote. Every employer. Thank you.